Hi everyone, I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors, and today I'm going to just do a fast walkthrough on some options in utilizing our stencils and some markers. I have shown this is going to conclude our stencils tutorials for a while. After that, next week I will be teaching techniques with our acrylic sprays. So to start off with, I'm just using this fun little stencil that kind of reminds me of beehive. I've taped down my little scrap of paper and just going to do a quick little pattern utilizing our Spectrum Noir tri-blend markers. They happen to be an alcohol based. There's 3 shades for every color, which has its advantages. So I'm just going to take our True Blue blend and start with the lightest. I'm just going to do a little grouping. I could tape down my stencil to keep it stable, but I'm just going to trust to a little bit of happy coincidence, and if it shifts, it shifts. So one thing I have found is if you keep your pen moving, you will end up with fewer little heavy set spaces. So again, I'm starting off with the lightest color, and our markers do sometimes stain our stencils, but I'm really okay with that. And this technique works best if you just keep your ink moist and moving, because I'm going to actually use all 3 shades of this pen to get some shading going. So that was the lightest. Now I'm going to the darkest. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight down around, maybe some shading up top, just like so. And you notice how I'm just keeping my pen moving. It's okay if there's some squiggle lines. It's coloring. It's fun. I personally am not adept at coloring. There are people that have an eye for it and the heft of their pen and just intrinsically have enough practice and a lot of knowledge and the vision to actually see it blend and merge. I am not one of those people, but this is such a forgiving medium that even I feel comfortable doing it. I'm now going to shift to the medium. Again, these are an alcohol based, so if you keep it moving, you notice how you can actually see all 3 shades in this. I'm going to actually go over it again with the light, and then it just blends beautifully. It's just a perfect way to get shading and depth and texture to a piece. And using the stencil, I almost ran with the honey colors because the stencil always reminds me of honeybees, but honestly, this would make a really fun background and texture piece on a project. So here I am doing the light color one more time as it helps darken it a little. Also, I'm going over that medium and that dark just a tiny bit so that it smooths out the texturing. There we go. And the alcohols as our carrier, as you have probably learned from our Science Sunday projects, helps this actually blend in better. So now I'm going to lift that off. I love washi tape. It lets me set things and move them around. And you can see this has a really fun little batch of texturing and colors and depth. If I were to put some more of that hex shape over here and just do smatterings, it would be fun for backgrounds with, say, some photo mats. You know, imagine that's a photo mat and tucking it in with a photo there or some journaling. it could be a lot of fun. It's not limiting. It does expand your options. Now I am going to take another piece of white daisy cardstock. I really fell in love with this heart patterned stencil. And what we're going to do is kind of a Zen doodly, kind of a Zen tangled kind of a concept. And so you take a journaling pen or something fine. And I could tape this down, but I'm not too worried about it, I suppose. I'm just going to do a few of these to give you an idea. And as you can tell, I'm just running a fine point pen. This happens to be one of our journaling pens in black, and it's a 0.05 nib. I've done this with smaller nibs, and it turns out really well. But I wanted this to be strong enough for you to see without too much effort. So just try and stay within your stencil. And when you're done with your pattern, you could lift it off and leave it be. You could take some of our Distress Oxide inks and texture it, or some paste, or our acrylic sprays. But the whole idea is now you've got this all stenciled out, and you can add patterns to this really fast and easy. You can add dots, you can add squiggles, you can add the sky's the limit. So if you want ideas, I'm sure if you go on Pinterest, there's probably hundreds of Zentangled ideas. I am not a Zentangle person, and I don't use Pinterest. I'm one of the few people in the crafting world who actually does not use Pinterest at all. So that's the concept right there. You go ahead and use your stencil, and you can create patterns with it. And then you could take, again, add color to this, add sparkle to this. You could take your shimmer pens. You can do an awful lot with this and create backgrounds. You could actually make an entire long card with this. Really, just let your imagination explode, okay? Now, our final piece, I'm using a smaller piece of black cardstock because I want to share with you how absolutely incredible our new to us markers are that are metallics. So I have them off to my side. I'm going to start with a pretty gold, I suppose, an aged copper, a purple, a green, a blue. I don't know, I'm pulling a few. So these just really make me super happy. And the reason is I'm not a big sparkle fan, but when I want it bad. So we have two different sizes of nibs. We have a standard fine point nib. And then on the other side of the same marker, we have what's called a barrel nib. So using our stencil, you can take, again, this is going to stain your stencils, but your stencils are for working, okay? I would never want to keep my stencils pristine because it would just mean that I haven't actually been using them and loving them. That would be a crying shame as far as I'm concerned. If I own it, it's to be used, right? So as you can see, this really pops on our black paper. And I'm just running an outline. I'm using the nib to pop it in. Then I'm going to change colors. I'm going ahead and run with, I think I'm going to go with a green. And to show you how it differentiates between the tips, I changed to the fine tip. You notice it's a lot more controlled, which means I probably also am going to run over my stencil less, but it takes longer to do my pattern. And I should have put my all-purpose mat underneath so I wouldn't be risking my desk surface. But it's a little late now. So I'm just going to be really careful and not go all the way to the edge as I would typically do. And just like that, you see how this is starting to come together? So again, you could do this with colored pencils. You could do this with pretty much any medium. You could take these stencils and do what we've done in past Technique Tuesdays and use the texture paste. You could run this as a watercolor project. You could take your shimmer pens. You could take your ballpoint pens from in your art desk, whatever you have at hand, okay? Just because I'm using specific products doesn't mean that you are limited by this. These Technique Tuesdays are really just to give you a smattering of an idea to help motivate you to create beautiful, fun things. Okay, so I'm going to move that stencil out of the way, and you can see just how much that pops. These magnetic markers are super cool on black. You could take some chalk markers and outline them. You could see how that shimmers. Wow. Okay, or you could take a fine point tip like I'm going to do here, and you can outline your piece. Or you could add some extra design pattern free-handed. You could do doodles within your existing lines from your stencil. You could, there again, the sky's the limit. You're only limited by your imagination. And if you're kind of stalling and going, what am I going to do? I'm lost for ideas. Check out the internet. But really, this is a leaping off point. And again, look at that shimmer and how it really pops on that black. So that is everything for today's Technique Tuesday. I will be back this weekend with our Science Sunday at 5:15. Have a great day. Bye.